The Importance of Natural Play and Motor Skill Development in Young Children by Trish Iannaro. The purpose of this research is to study young children and the positive benefits of outdoor environment on their fine motor skills and their gross motor skills. So basically, the purpose of my research was to understand how children were able to benefit from being outdoors, introducing more natural play to the classroom, allowing the students to actually be able to explore in their own natural environments and to determine whether this actually assisted with their gross motor and fine motor skills or if it did not. The review of literature, there were a lot of ideas in my literature. One of the biggest ideas was just obviously being able to figure out different natural activities that I could use in early childhood education. Um, so a lot of them described, ways to investigate different outdoor areas, finding new pathways, encouraging them to explore water, explore just the nature, the natural environment, sand, the different areas around the actual schools. Um, Nature walks were important. They don't have to include extreme, weather or whatever, but they do need to be encouraged to investigate in these areas. And they are excited by new things, by piles of leaves, piles of sticks, forests of trees. They're excited about flowers and different insects and learning how they grow. Um, they are in wonder and will continue to be in wonder of nature. Um, and there's a lot to explore for a young child. Allowing creativity is important, but just make sure that you don't hinder what they know and what they learn, because a lot of times adults like to put their own impression on different ideas and thoughts, and that's not appropriate in this situation because they need to learn. They need to be able to inquire and explore on their own. The second idea with the review of literature was the inquiry process with young children. There were a lot of articles and um, different resources that explained, how children inquire and how they um, should be allowed to kind of do their own research outside. Giving them the ability to explore the world around them is a lot more beneficial to the child than just telling them, oh, well, that looks like a stick. They need to learn about the stick. How does the stick feel? What does it smell like? What does it look like? When I touch it, when it falls, what will happen? So another review of literature that is the parents' fear and actually the adults' fear of outdoors. We tend to worry about what would happen when our children actually are allowed to explore in further details. They're allowed to kind of go off the track, and um, the parents are afraid that it is unsafe or that the child could hurt themselves or that they'll go too far to a point where the parent can't control what's going on. And a lot of times it is a control issue, according to the research, but it is important to know that just the parent has to actually separate themselves from the activities going on and allow their child to inquire without fear. In the last article, the author actually discusses how the educator creating activities in which the parent feels safe. And so a lot of times we'll start off with an activity that the parent feels, the parent feels okay with because they're knowledgeable about it or they've done it before, such as starting with water and sand tables and moving up to, actually playing with and around different bodies of water or understanding, testing water, etc. My research question was, what is the teacher's role in supporting a 2-year-old child's fine motor and gross motor skills in an outdoor environment. My sub questions included: how can nature walks affect a 2-year-old child's motor skills? How can increasing activities outdoors affect a child's motor skills? And how can water and sand tables affect a child's fine motor and gross motor skills? The first chart is the gross motor chart. This was used as a checklist in order to determine how many of the skills that each child could meet, and then I put it into a percentage of those that they could meet, and those percentages are included in the following charts. And I included both child data individually and group data. The fine motor skills development chart was used as a checklist as well. If you notice in slide 7, the children are walking smoothly, turning corners. They begin running. They're able to pull or carry a toy while walking. Sorry. They climb up onto and down from furniture without assistance. Basically, they have little support, but there is still support. So they're walking up and down steps with support. They're picking up toys from the floor without falling over. If they're 3, then they're imitating standing on one foot, imitating different movements of limbs, pedaling a tricycle, which was difficult when you have tricycles that don't have pedals. And they are jumping in place with 2 feet together. If you notice on the fine motor skills development chart, they're stringing 4 beads. They're turning pages of a single book. They're snipping with scissors, holding crayons with their thumb and fingers, building towers of 9 small blocks, copying a circle. These are all different activities that require them to be able to touch and feel small items usually and work them around different items. And so they're manipulating small items. Again, these were used to determine how many of the skills that each child could meet, and these scores were calculated into percentages, and then those percentages are included on the charts. So the situation was that the child in the blue shirt plays with another student in the outdoor sand pit. She explores with different scoops and sifters, extracting the rocks. She looks at her friend and she asks to share the scoops with her in order to get the boulders out. And so then they both spent a whole lot of time extracting the rocks from the sand. My discovery was that she improved on her fine motor skills through scooping and sifting. She picked out the rocks from the sand, and these skills were used through sifting and picking out small rocks, allowing her to improve on stringing 4 beads onto a string, turning pages one by one, and holding a crayon with one hand. She was able to do more than she was during the first test because of the fact that she had multiple activities that actually included holding small items and manipulating them into different areas. Her data in this individualized chart based on the Kid Sense Motor Skills Checklist, you can see that Child 1 actually improved in both skills. She improved a lot in her fine motor skills, and then she only improved a little bit, but it was still it was a good amount in the gross motor skills. I noted that she was able to string 6 or more beads onto a shoelace, and she could hold her thumb and forefinger, hold her crayon with her thumb and her forefinger. And she used her right hand more efficiently in different activities. So the situation was that the child 2 explores an outdoor environment and explains that she got a stick. Through this video and after the video, child 2 begins to learn about insects and where they live. She was exploring the natural environment around her, and due to the questions from the teacher, she was inquiring where insects live and the environment she was studying. After the video, this child incorporated her knowledge of outdoors with mathematics through organizing wood pieces into different sizes and shapes. She has improved in picking up small items, walking one foot after another, and walking up and down steps. And then she can stabilize items in her hand easily, which she proves through different sizes of sticks and throwing these items in front of her. You got a stick? What are you going to do with it? What'd you do with it? You threw it? Do you think bugs live in there? No? They don't? Bugs live over there? Oh. Where do the bugs live? Oh, over there? On the leaf? Do bugs live on the leaf? In the photo, she actually found a stink bug and was holding it within her hands. We're in Illinois, so there's a lot of stink bugs around here. But she watched it crawl throughout her hands, and then she watched it crawl on the wall after it flew away from her. Her face in this video shows her excitement from our nature walks, holding the stink bug within her hands and exploring outdoor environments as a whole. She is able to hold small items in between two fingers. She is now able to use hand-eye coordination to catch small bugs and does not smash them with her fingers. She exceeds in both fine motor and gross motor skills. She improved in standing on one foot, running, and walking using alternate feet. She also improved in manipulating clay, snipping pieces with scissors, and stringing 4 more beads. In this photo, the child is discovering the texture and feeling of the dirt that we needed to add to the garden. First, we learned how to prepare the dirt and prepare the soil to plant vegetables. So in this picture, he's actually one of the ones that began our garden and we allowed him to help with planting the seeds and doing the different pieces that have to do with the garden. He learned about different sizes of holes and being able to water the plants to ensure that they were all watered. And because of this garden, he improved incredibly with just putting small objects inside others, holding small objects. His walking improved. He is able to walk one foot in front of the other, which I found was common trend throughout our kids because of the nature walks that we went to. And he's also able to climb one stair at a time on his own. In this data set, he had the highest level of improvement throughout the entire research project. He surpassed his scores with 17% more developed in fine motor skills and 9% more developed in gross motor skills. He actually was able to do a lot more as far as like being able to climb better, being able to walk better. He improved a lot, but I found that he was the one that also helped the most with the garden, and he also enjoyed the walks that we were on. And so I think the fact that his enjoyment was so high and so he was so interested, he was able to improve a lot more. In this photo, child 4 shows another child in her class the wet wood chip that she found and explains to him that it's wet. She picks it up and puts it through the slots of the table and determined that only some of the wood chips will fit through the slots. She improved in her fine motor skills because she is able to grab items with her thumb and forefinger. She uses her right hand in most activities, and she's able to string more than 6 beads onto a shoelace. As you can see within the data, child 4 had more growth than with fine motor than she did with her gross motor, and she had more participation in active learning than in the actual outdoor environment, and so therefore she improved in each area because of the fact that she had so much enjoyment, which is what I was talking about with child 3 as well. But both of them were very interested in the project, and so I found that their scores definitely improved. Child 5, he's returning from our nature walk and he leads the class back to the classroom. He has improved entirely in gross motor skills and is now able to walk in one foot in front of the other. His fine motor skill level stayed the same. As you can see, it was on the same level. He was still pretty high for himself, but he had low levels of development for his age. So we had to work with him a little bit more, and it was a little bit difficult because he didn't show up every single day due to sickness and illness. And so we had to incorporate more activities on the days that he was there. My data was collected through multiple sources of observation. I used the KidSense gross motor development chart and the KidSense fine motor development chart to determine the level of motor skills in which each child had before the study. During the study, I collected the information through observation notes, journal notes, photo documentation, and videos in order to be able to make sure that it was a qualitative research design. Also, the data collected, I allowed the children a lot to inquire, but I inquired a lot as well. And so, therefore, I had to make sure that, the data was analyzed and that when I analyzed it, I was creating more activities or finding more activities through different research sites in order to benefit those children. Because I noticed a lot that, they were interested in the nature walks. And so I would create longer nature walks. I would create different nature walks that we weren't just walking down the same, path every time. Sometimes we would walk around the school building. Sometimes we would, walk. We actually walked in a park for one of the moments because there's a park nearby the school. And so we walked to the park and we walked around the park. And so those activities allowed them to do better on walking and climbing. And so I noticed that a lot of our children improved in those areas. If you look as a whole, everybody pretty much improved in gross motor skills except for child 5, who stayed the same. So he did not decline. He did stay exactly the same. But the rest of them did improve overall. Also, with the fine motor skills, all of them improved in some way, shape, or form. The different skills obviously were listed with their actual slides, but I think it's important to note that both gross motor and fine motor skills, they definitely improved. The green is the second test. What I learned was that children will go above and beyond your expectations when you create them. And so, therefore, as parents and educators, we need to, set our outdoor environment, our natural materials. We need to make sure that the children are actually able to enjoy their play, that they're able to enjoy their guided play outdoors, and that you ensure that they're, really inquiring about the world around them and showing them new things and different things where they're not just riding a bike every single day. Setting goals and then creating additional and supplemental activities outdoors. It's important. I mean, we created a garden with our school and we did nature walks with it, which they did sparingly before, but now they do, multiple times a week depending on the weather. And so I think it's very important and I think it helps the kids a lot to be able to, see and hear and just experience nature in a way that they didn't before. And then there are my references. Thank you.